Hello everyone, Milan here, and welcome to If I Was in Total Drama Island. So, to make up for me being added, I also decided that Sierra would be added, so the teams are even. And you might wonder how I'm going to make up for these extra two players. Well, I'm just not going to have two people rejoin when it gets to the merge. Anyways, so not so happy campers. Sadie is refusing to jump. In the can. Wait, no. In the canon, Izzy decides to switch. But I think it would actually kind of be the other way around here. So Katie is refusing to jump without Sadie because the killer bass end up going first. So me and Cody, because I think me and characters like Cody, DJ, Harold, Noah, Trent, I could easily become friends with some of those characters. And Sierra is about to offer to switch teams with Katie so she could be on the same team as Sadie. And then I look Cody straight in the eyes and offer to switch teams with Sadie. So me and Sadie are swapped teams. Cody thanks me. And Sierra is inevitably going to hate me for the rest of this. Anyways, I feel like adding me and Sierra probably wouldn't make too much of a difference. Courtney and DJ still wouldn't jump. So the thing is, whether me and Sierra jumped or not, the killer bass would still have more people who did jump. So that means that the Screaming Gophers and aka my team ends up losing the first challenge. Sierra obviously votes for me, but basically everybody else votes for Ezekiel because of the sexist comment. Goodbye, Ezekiel. The Big Sleep. The only difference here is that Izzy is on the Killer Bass team. Katie and Sadie are on the Killer Bass, and me and Sierra are on the Screaming Gophers. But I think that there are three possibilities. One, Sierra stays up the longest so she can be a creep around Cody while he's asleep. Two, Cody stays awake the longest so Sierra can't be doing things to him while he's asleep. Or C, it stays the same as the canon and Gwen ends up winning. But two of those possibilities still result in the Killer Bass winning, so the Screaming Gophers still end up losing. And because Heather still did the thing with Eva's MP3 player, she's the next one eliminated. Next is Dodge Brawl. Unlike Noah, I think I'd say, well, I'm not very athletic, so I'll do a game, but if you think that I'm not good enough, I'll just not do any more. And the other team and the rest of the team is satisfied about that, except for Sierra, because she thinks I'm just trying to be lazy. And I think Duncan would still be awoken later in it and is able to help the team win. So the Killer Bass are up, and Noah is still the third one eliminated. Next is the talent show contest. The thing I think would end up changing here... Wait. So there are three people doing each of them. So I think for the bass, it would still end up having Heather as it, Justin, and who else did it in canon? 1 second.
When you write.
Excuse me. There was an ad. Oh yeah, Trent did it. Hold up. I made a mistake here with the teams. I see the mistake I made. Anyways, so that means Trent is one of them competing for the Bass team. And DJ, Bridget, and I feel like the team, it would probably end up with the options of Izzy, Harold, me, and Sierra for being the last person to do something because everyone else can't. And I'm going to say that they get it down to, they don't trust Harold to do it, and they think that Izzy and Sierra are insane, so they have me do it. I still beatbox, and that means that the Gophers end up winning. It's just I do it for the team instead of Harold doing it. And I think Heather would probably still be able to get Justin out because she'd be able to still get Beth and Lindsay, be able to convince Owen, and Katie and Sadie are dumb, so she'd probably be able to convince them, even though they like Justin. She'd probably say that she'd like do their hair or something, I don't know. Next up is the Sucky Outdoors. I think Katie and Sadie are separated from their team, like in canon. It's just they're separated from the Bass instead of the Gophers. And that results in Katie and Sadie getting back last and Katie being voted off. Phobia factor. I think realistically there's no way that the Gopher team ends up winning it. Courtney doesn't do it. Tyler doesn't do it. Sierra's fear would probably be like not SA Cody for 24 hours, which she fails. I fail to be around clowns, so the Gopher team ends up losing. So Duncan doesn't want Courtney out because he likes her. And Jeff and DJ like me, so they convince the other team not to vote for me. And Tyler's a pretty strong guy, so that means that they end up voting off Sierra. Up the creek. So I think Harold would still end up burning the oars, but DJ would be able to make it back in time, meaning the Bass team ends up for elimination. And since Sadie is just an emotional mess because Katie was voted off 2 episodes ago, they decide to vote her off. Which means that even though in the canon Izzy was chased away by the RCMP, she's not up for elimination this time. So I think that realistically the same thing would happen soon, but not here. Paintball Deer Hunter, still basically the same as canon. Lashana, Heather, Beth, and Lindsay get in a fight. But Cody still would probably get mauled by a bear, so he is sadly eliminated. If you can't take the heat, Yeah, I think the Killer Bass still end up losing this one, and Beth is voted off because of her totem. Then is Who Can You Trust? Originally, Sadie was the one who messed up for the Gophers, but I feel like it's likely that Izzy, me, Tyler, or Harold could probably mess something up, so the Gopher team ends up losing this one. And then the bottom two is probably me and Izzy, and then Izzy is chased away by the RCMP, so she's out. Then Basic Straining. I see realistically Gwen still ending up winning it for the Bass team, so the Gophers are up for elimination again. Who was eliminated originally in this episode? Oh yeah, originally Courtney was eliminated because Harold rigged the votes, and even though it's possible he could convince me, Tyler, and yeah, just the two of us, but either way, he just decides to rig the vote still for Courtney to be out because, yeah. Then Extreme Torture, Harold is eliminated, just like in canon. And then we get to the boys and girls phase. So, obviously, there are more boys than there are girls. So, I think they would pull kind of like some jokes that they made with Cody in World Tour and put me on the girls' team because I'm so pathetic. And the boys' team ends up winning, but it doesn't matter because it was a non-elimination challenge. No one returns in this universe, and we are in the merge. So I think realistically Lashana would still end up winning this. So since Eva isn't here being a psychopath, Heather would probably end up being the one eliminated. Next up is Search and Do Not Destroy. Since Heather isn't here for plot armor this time, and Tyler and me are here instead of Izzy and Heather, that means one of us would end up getting the chef thing. So the thing is, if one of us got it, who do I think would be more likely to make it? I think probably me, because I'm a bit more stealthy than Tyler is. And since Tyler is a strong guy, and Lindsay likes him, and he presumably would almost end up winning or something, I think this is where he's eliminated. Next is Hide and Be Sneaky. I think realistically, Lindsay is still able to find Jeff and wait. Lindsay is able to find Jeff and Owen, and since Heather isn't here to steal it from her, that means that she gets immunity. I think Lashana would still be able to have the same spot and not get caught. So yeah, I feel like the same thing would end up happening with the Guys Alliance agreeing to vote off Bridget, even though the votes don't add up because Jeff didn't vote for her, and I'm not a part of it. Bridget is out. That's off the chain. I feel like realistically Lindsay would probably be the only one to cross, but let's just look at this. The thing is, Lashana didn't make a bike in the original. Trent and I weren't here in the original, so we'll just have to assume what ends up happening for those. So I think in this version, it would be more reasonable, and you start off with your bike in round 1 and get someone else's in round 2, so you can't just purposely fail to get someone else not be able to make it. So DJ would definitely not be able to make it. Lindsay would probably be able to. Lashana probably wouldn't be able to. Jeff would probably have like that Bridget bike, which ends up crossing. Since I have no skills building things at all, I would not be able to do it. I think Owens would still be able to make him across round 1. I think, yeah, Duncan would be able to do it, and I'll just guess that Gwen and Trent don't. So that means in round 2, they all get someone else's. And I think realistically, Lindsay's bike is the only one who is able to cross, and let's just assume Jeff gets Duncan's, Owen gets Jeff's, Lindsay gets Owen's, and Duncan gets Lindsay's, which means Duncan is able to cross the finish line, and since Lindsay built the bike, then she gets immunity. So then it's a tiebreaker between Jeff and Owen, and I think realistically, Jeff would end up winning it, meaning Owen is automatically eliminated because they didn't have a vote in the original. Hook, line, and screamer. I see realistically no one being able to have a worse scare than DJ. I think realistically I wouldn't get as scared as him, but if I did, it would be by the killer. And you could argue Lindsay, but with how good she did in the Scary Movie Challenge in action, I wouldn't say so. So that means DJ is still eliminated there. Then it's Wawanaka Gone Wild, but it doesn't matter who ends up winning this challenge because in the original, the prize was the meal, and Gwen, who ended up winning the challenge, was in the bottom 2, even though she won. So that doesn't end up mattering. So the guys' alliance at this point is probably just Duncan and Jeff. So that means they don't have much power. Lashana and Gwen are together. Trent is with Gwen. So I think that Jeff and Duncan would... Wait. I think that Jeff and Duncan would vote for Lashana because she's a strong competitor. I think that Lashana, Gwen, and Trent would vote for Jeff because at this point, Gwen hadn't become friends with him. Trent didn't know him because they weren't on the same team, and that was same with Lashana, so they voted for him because Gwen kind of likes Duncan, so they decide not to vote for him. Lindsay, I think, would probably end up joining them, and I would probably just... I like Jeff and would presumably like Lashana and Gwen and Trent, so I would probably end up voting for Duncan, but it doesn't change anything, so that means Jeff is eliminated. Trial by triathlon. So if any pairs from the original are here, I'm going to keep them. So Lashana and Duncan are still together. And since Owen's elimination replaced where Lindsay was, then he would be in their place. But who replaces Heather exactly? Well, she was out when Eva would have been eliminated, so who can be sure? Anyways, Gwen was originally with Jeff, And Wawanakwa Gone Wild, originally Izzy got out, but she didn't even make it to this point because she got all the way back out. And Who You Can Trust, who originally Sadie with. So I'm just going to randomize the last pairs. I think since I know Lindsay the least, they would have me be with her, but Gwen and Trent are a couple, so they would also have them be together and try to make it so they end up losing. End up getting in an argument or something. And I think that Lashana and Duncan would end up winning. And Trent ends up being eliminated because most people there like Gwen more than him, and they got in some sort of argument, so he's out. Then Hot Capture was, I think it would have the same unfair elimination where Lashana's out. Mr. Coconut wouldn't exist in this universe because Owen was never here. So I think that would mean that it would probably just not be an elimination episode. Then is Are You There, Yeti? So the original pairs were Duncan and Owen versus Heather and Gwen. So I think it would just be guys versus girls again. And the girls end up winning, and since I'm not as good of a competitor, they boot Duncan. Then I triple dog dare you. Gwen would definitely be able to make it past due to some stuff that she did. So who would be out here? Either me or Lindsay. I think realistically, because of like the stuff that she did in No Pain, No Gain, I think it would probably be me out. Like with that marshmallow waxing thing. And then I think the canon winner would end up being Gwen, and Lindsay would end up losing. And I feel like she wouldn't give up the $100,000. So it's either they just had it be like $900,000 the next season, or there was no Total Drama action. Anyways, this is my version of how it could have gone if I was in Total Drama Island. I may be a little bit biased, so if you have your own version of this, then you can comment down below how you think it could turn out. I'm Milan, and we'll see y'all later.